Planning Commission. You'll call the roll, please.
Chairman LaTour.
Here.
Vice Chair Stebbins. Commissioner Berry.
Here.
Commissioner Brock.
Here.
Commissioner Bynum.
Here.
Commissioner Hamilton.
Here.
Commissioner Hart.
Here.
Commissioner Haynes. Commissioner Roman.
Here.
Commissioner Thomas.
Here.
And Commissioner Vogel.
Here.
You do have a quorum.
Well, okay, you've got the, you've seen the minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of the minutes, please signify by raising your right hand. Those opposed, no. Other hand. They're approved. Mr. Carney, if you'll take us through the consent agenda, please. Item 5 is to be pulled.
Yes, sir. Following is the proposed consent agenda for the December 5th, 2019 meeting of the Little Rock Planning Commission. We have one item on consent deferral. That's item 1, file Z5652-B, Recovery Centers of Arkansas Group Care Facility, revised special use permit located at 9219 Sibley Hole Road. The applicant did not complete the notice requirement, and staff recommends deferral of the item to the January 30th, 2020 agenda. Following items are consent approval. First is item 2, file LU 19-1901, Land Use Plan Amendment in the Chenal Planning District at the southwest corner of Highway 300 and Highway 10 from residential medium density and suburban office to neighborhood commercial. Staff recommends approval. Item 2.1, file Z9472, rezoning from R2 to C1, the 20,300 block of Highway 10, that's the south side of Highway 10, approximately half-mile west of Chenal Parkway. Staff recommends approval of the requested C1 zoning. Item number 3, file Z8478-A, 1519 South Commerce, revised conditional use permit located at 1519 South Commerce Street. Staff recommends approval of the revised conditional use permit, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in sections 4, 5, and 6 of the agenda staff report. Staff recommends approval of the rear yard setback variance. Item number 4, file Z9295-A, Shiloh Excel Christian School, revised conditional use permit located at 2400 South Maple Street. Staff recommends approval of the requested conditional use permit, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in sections 4, 5, and 6, and the staff analysis in the agenda staff report. The staff supports approval, or is recommending approval of a deferral of half street improvements to 25th Street until such time as the school enrollment is proposed to exceed 15 students. Item number 6, file Z9470, 800 Reservoir Auto Rental or Leasing conditional use permit located at 800 Reservoir Road, Units 3 and 4. Staff recommends approval of the requested conditional use permit, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in sections 4, 5, and 6, and the staff analysis in the agenda staff report. Item number 7, file Z9471, St. John Baptist Church parking lot conditional use permit located at the 2600 block of Main Street on the west side. Staff recommends approval of the requested conditional use permit, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in sections 4, 5, and 6, and the staff analysis in the agenda staff report. Staff recommends approval of the requested driveway spacing variances for the driveways as proposed. That's with one driveway onto Main Street, one onto West 26th, and one onto 27th Street each. Item number 8, file Z9473, Our Lady of Good Counsel parking lot conditional use permit located on the west side of the 1300 block of South Van Buren. Staff recommends approval of the conditional use permit, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in sections 4, 5, and 6, and the staff analysis in the agenda staff report. The final item on consent agenda is item number 9, file G23473, South Van Buren Street right-of-way abandonment, South Van Buren Street between 13th and 14th Streets. Staff recommends approval of the request to abandon the 1 block of South Van Buren right-of-way located between West 13th and West 14th Streets. That concludes the consent agenda.
All right, Commissioners, you've heard the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
Chairman LaTour, I move that we approve the consent agenda, including all staff comments and conditions.
Is there a motion? Is there a second? Second? Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. If you're in favor, raise your right hand. If you're opposed, consent agenda is passed. Item 5, Mr. Carney, if you'll lead us off on that.
Mr. Chairman, did you want to
As
give
a
folks a minute
note,
to
if
leave the room?
if your agenda item was called, you're free to go. Thank you for coming. Item 5.
Item number 5, file Z9469, Panuco Multi-Sectional Manufactured Home Conditional Use Permit located at 10502 Peace Valley Road. A conditional use permit is requested to allow for placement of a multi-sectional manufactured home on this R2 zoned 2.65 acre tract. The property on which the home is proposed to be placed does not actually front onto Peace Valley Road. It's accessed via an access easement across the adjacent property to Peace Valley. The home will be located over 200 feet from the street, behind the properties fronting onto the street. The proposed home is 22 foot by 48 foot inside with a vertical siding exterior and a pitched shingled roof. The applicant states that the home is to be occupied by their father and will not be a rental unit. The applicant offered the condition that the home will continue to be occupied only by family members when the father no longer needs it, and it will not be converted into a rental unit. Placement of the home must comply with the siding criteria from section 36-254. Staff does recommend approval of the conditional use permit subject to compliance with the following conditions. First being compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in sections 4, 5, and 6 and the staff analysis in the agenda staff report. Placement of the home must comply with the siding criteria from section 36-254 and the condition proposed by the applicant. The home is to be occupied by a family member of the property owners and is not to be a rental unit.
Okay, would the applicant come up, please?
Mr. Chairman, perhaps you want to lay the groundwork for...
I'm sorry?
You might want to lay the ground rules for the timing.
I shall. The way this works is each side will have a maximum of 20 minutes. Hopefully the key there is maximum. You can speak about your project now, or you can wait and see what they have to say in rebuttal, or any combination thereof.
I wait and see what they're saying.
You wait?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I have 4 cards. I gather you're all neighbors. Yes. Is there an order you want to go in, or shall I just call them? First one I've got is Barbara Farish. Come on up.
Hello. I have lived in this area for over 26 years, and I'm just afraid that if this happens, is there some guarantee that they're not going to eventually, who's going to keep up with who's living in this mobile home? There's already a lot of people up there now, and a lot has went on. We have enough down in that area. The road is not that big. We have the lodge that's up for sale that I live by, and I don't know what's going to happen to it. And I just don't know if this is appropriate to bring. There was mobile homes there before, I guess, that were grandfathered in, but I'm just afraid that if you let one come in now, that there may be others, and I don't want a trailer park in my area. And who's going to keep up with this to make sure that they're not renting it out? or, so that's all I wanted to say. I'm opposed to it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Betty Bryant?
I can just say that I have the same views. I oppose the mobile home in the area. Just from a traffic standpoint, we already have plenty of traffic. Y'all have approved 500 new homes to go in right behind us next year, I think. So I think we're going to have plenty without a mobile home.
Thank you. Geneva Value? Did I say that right?
Hi, I have questions about the mobile home because of the property value of the area, and whether or not it's going to be, have the same concerns that Barbara have about it. So we all kind of have the same problem with the area being, with the houses, the houses coming in behind us, and the area, it's a little congested now. So that's the problem I have. My problem is the value of the market of the homes down in there right now.
Okay.
That's all.
Stan Hughes. Is that hard to hear, or is it just me being deaf?
Good afternoon. Ms. Value is my wife. And I have some concerns, not about the people. They're very nice. However, the main problem I'm looking at is property values. All of those are real homes. Our house was burned and rebuilt. It's fairly new. And the property values, bringing in a mobile home or even adding mobile, because you bring in one, normally it's going to be another one. That's the concern. Not only that, but like somebody else said, the traffic. It's been a little bit more traffic since they moved in because of their business. I understand that. And some things with more noise and everything else, loud music late at night. But it's kind of settled down. However, the main thing is the property value. If you got a $140,000, $150,000 house or 200, and you put a trailer in there, it's gonna bring the value down. That's not something that I'm making up. That's something that I know for a fact. Because if you go to buy a house, they're gonna look at all the houses in the area and do the price. So that is the reason why I'm opposed to it. Because we could lose just on the property value. Thank you.
Okay. Would the applicant care to speak now?
I can make sure this is going to be just for
Hang
my
on just a
parents.
second. Monty, can you turn the volume up a little bit? It's kind of hard to hear up here.
Yes, it's just going to be my parents. They retire. My house, we have to remodel the whole thing, and they can see it. We remodel all within a year. Our total property is 7 acres and 65. I don't want no more. I didn't want a mobile home. I wish I can have the money to do a house, but I don't.
Is that a question?
No, it's nothing more I can say. The double wide is a double wide. It looks like a house. It's not a single wide. It's a big house. It looks like a house, actually.
Okay. Any other comments?
Yeah, I have a quick question. This is really for staff. When you're evaluating whether a mobile home is an appropriate addition to a neighborhood, can you just sort of explain to me when you might recommend rejecting the application and when, as here, you have recommended accepting the application?
Certainly, I can tell you. First off, you need to begin with the premise that manufactured homes are an appropriate housing type. And we do require that it be reviewed by the Planning Commission in certain cases, such as this, where the zoning of the property doesn't allow it as a matter of right. So the issue before you is a conditional use permit. You have to look at the very basics of what you're to consider with every conditional use permit, is that is the use appropriate, is it compatible? The questions we have to ask in relation to this type of application, what type of houses are around the site? Is a one-story house typical? A one-story house is typical. Pitched roof with shingles on it, is that typical for the neighborhood? Varieties of exteriors, some are brick, some are siding. This is a siding house. So we look at those kind of things to see whether it is compatible. There are circumstances where we would not support it, and we have not. And I will tell you this, that we tend to direct these applications away from you so you don't see them. I have had people come into my office and express a desire to place a manufactured home in the Central High neighborhood. I told them up front that that housing type is not compatible with the homes that are in that neighborhood, and they chose not to file the application. If they had, I can see that we might have had problems with recommending approval of that because of the compatibility with the neighborhood. We don't always recommend approval of them. We ask ourselves those questions. What does it look like? What are the housing types around it? Is there access? Is there appropriate setback? All of these questions we ask ourselves before we bring it to you with a recommendation.
Any other questions or comments from the commission?
And I'm sorry, there has been a statement that there are no other mobile homes in the neighborhood. That is not correct. There are other mobile homes in the neighborhood, not directly adjacent to this site, but there are mobile homes along Mapleville Cutoff and Fairwood Road, which is within just a few blocks of this site. Mobile homes is incorrect, manufactured homes.
Just sort of a follow-up, is compatibility with the neighborhood kind of a proxy for how it may or may not affect property values, or is that like an independent evaluation, or is that not a consideration at all?
We're not the appropriate people to answer that question of property values.
Any other questions or comments? My only comment would be, please note in the write-up that the family commits that only a family member will ever live there, which you can read in the comments. If there are no other questions, a motion would be appropriate.
Chairman, I move that the approval of item number 5, including all staff comments and conditions.
Is there a second? Second. Moved and seconded. Any other discussion? Hearing none, if you're in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. If you're not, please raise your hand. Thank you. That's most of everything that needs to come before us. There is on citizen communication a request from Ms. Ruth Bell to address the commission. Come on up.
This is a happy time to talk to you. For myself and the League of Women Voters, I just want to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I'll look forward to seeing with you again in January. Anyway, have a good holiday.
Thank you, and I'll second that. I hope everybody has a great holiday season. Dana?
Mr. Chairman, if I could just remind the commission, this will be your last meeting of the year. The first meeting of next year will be on January the 9th. At that meeting, you will be electing chairman and vice chair, so you might be giving some thought to those positions.
No party?
On the unofficial agenda, Commissioner Hamilton has some party facilities and may be in touch with you. Hearing no other business, we are adjourned.